Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all again in the next episode. I just wanted to share something quickly. It's not really bragging, more like celebrating together. I've been #1 on Spotify, everyone. I don't know if I'll still be there by the time this podcast airs, but for the past few weeks, I've been topping the charts, and I'm just so incredibly happy. I feel so grateful for all your support, because without you, I would never have achieved this. I'm truly overjoyed. This podcast episode is also connected to a significant milestone in my life. Before, it was hard to understand, but basically, today's topic is related to me reaching #1 on Spotify. Thank you all so much. I honestly didn't think I would recover so quickly or return to a normal life this fast. And actually, it wasn't fast at all. It was a real struggle, but I truly didn't expect to overcome it and for my life to become good again. Heartbreak is like walking into a storm. When we're in the middle of it, we can never remember how we got through it or how we managed to survive. Sometimes, we don't even know when the storm truly passes. But one thing I'm sure of is that once I stepped out of that storm, I was never the same person again. And right now, I honestly don't know if I've truly passed through the storm, but I think I've learned how to cope with it. The day we decided to break up, we were sitting in a room. You can imagine it, a confined, silent room that made me feel like I was suffocating. Both of us, my ex-boyfriend and I, were silent. We didn't say anything, but deep down, we both knew what was going to happen. Do you understand that feeling when you have to say something and you know for sure you're going to cry, so you have to take a deep breath to stop yourself? I did the same, but when I spoke the words, my voice caught in my throat. I heard the tremor in my own voice when I said, "Let's stop, okay?" The air in that room, I swear, must have dropped a few degrees. I tried my best to stay composed, but I couldn't. I burst into tears. He had always been incredible, always the one who would hug and comfort me whenever I cried. If it was just one of our small arguments, all he had to do was hold me, and after a couple of minutes, everything would be forgot. But this time, it wasn't like that. We still loved each other, and neither of us had done anything wrong. Looking back at our relationship now, neither of us made some terrible mistake that caused the other to dump them. I don't like using that word. It's not that one of us dumped the other. It was just a feeling. You know how in love, there are relationships where both people love each other and care for each other deeply, but that love just isn't enough for them to continue together. People often say that if you're still in love, you'll find a reason to stay. But we were both very rational people, and we knew we needed to stop. Because if we continued, we would just be dragging out something we knew would eventually end. Or at least we needed to pause then, so that later, if we both changed in different ways, maybe it would be better. But not then. At that moment, we both made the decision to definitely stop. My ex and I were both from different cities, coming to Hanoi to study. It was the end of the year, summer break, and after finishing our studies, we were flying back to our respective hometowns. The day we broke up, he immediately got on a plane to go home because he had already booked his flight. So I was left alone in Hanoi. After seeing him off at the airport, I just burst into tears, beginning my downward spiral. I don't think it was just me. I think it's probably a common experience for anyone going through heartbreak. The first night after the breakup, the sadness hadn't quite sunk in yet. I cried, I was sad, but it was a new kind of sadness. It hadn't permeated me fully. It was just crying, not a tearing, painful agony. But a few days later, when the sadness had time to mature and seep into my being, that's when I truly understood what hell was like. I missed him like crazy. I remembered the times when we were together, when we were in love. The sweetest thing was waking up every morning to a "Are you awake, baby?" text. And every night before bed, we'd confide in each other, just talk. When you're in love, I don't think anything is sweeter than coming home after a long, tiring day and having someone waiting to ask, "How was your day?" Someone to tell your stories to confide in. And now, after the breakup, there's no one to tell those things to anymore. I miss that like crazy. And on days off, weekends, I would normally get dressed up, do my makeup, and go out with them, right? But now I couldn't. I just stayed indoors. And I could have invited friends out, but I was so sad, so devastated that I didn't want to go anywhere. I just wanted to lie flat in a corner and feel my sadness. After the breakup, the thing I missed most was his hugs. I read somewhere that hugs were invented to let someone know you love them without having to say anything at all. Yes, after the breakup, I missed his hugs like crazy, everyone. I'm sure you understand that feeling of being held in someone's arms and feeling incredibly at peace. When all the chaos of life surrounds you, but just being in their embrace makes you feel so safe, like the saying, Outside your arms is a storm. After the breakup, I was going insane. I missed the feeling of being held in his arms so much. That period, I was so utterly broken. I cried every day from the moment I woke up. I cried like a maniac for days. On my last night in Hanoi, my friend told me, "You can't be this sad anymore. You have to go out or at least go drinking. Drinking helps you forget." So I got dressed and went drinking with them. We were at a close friend's house because we were girls and didn't dare go to a bar in case we got too drunk or something. And that night, I really did get completely wasted. After getting drunk, I had a terrible headache. When you drink, you often put on music, right? And when the house played those sad, emotional songs, I just cried like crazy, everyone. Drinking, drunk, headache, crying. Any sad song felt like it was describing my situation, so I cried even harder. After that near-death experience, I got on a plane to go home. By the time I arrived, I was gaunt, but I didn't want my mom to worry, so I tried to act normal. My mom asked me, "Are you sad, honey?" At first, I tried to be strong. I said, "Oh, Mom, young people, sometimes it doesn't work out, so we break up. I'm fine, I'll be normal in a few days." I tried to act normal, but my mom gave birth to me. She knows everything. She said, "Come home, why are you still trying to be strong?" Then my mom hugged me. Oh my God, everyone, you know that moment when you're trying to act strong, but someone understands you better than you understand yourself. They know you're pretending. So my mom hugged me, and at that moment, I couldn't be strong anymore. I cried like rain. I just kept crying in her arms. When my life felt like it was hitting rock bottom, I wanted to just let go. I truly wanted it to hit rock bottom because I thought when you're sad, you have to be completely sad. Only when you've hit rock bottom can you truly climb back up. After 2 days home, I told my mom, "Mom, I need to suffer a bit." So I got on a bus and traveled alone to several central coastal provinces, Nha Trang, Binh Thuan, Ninh Thuan, Binh Dinh. I went alone by bus, not on a tour. My goal was to inflict a kind of self-punishment. I wanted my body to be truly exhausted, combined with the emotional pain I was already feeling. I wanted to truly hit rock bottom so I could emerge again. Looking back at that time, I just think I was incredible. I was in so much pain, feeling utterly heartbroken and miserable, yet I was walking dozens of kilometers a day, just wandering around by the beach everywhere. Walking for tens of kilometers a day, both my mind and body were exhausted. Many days I walked and cried. People looked at me strangely like, "Why is this girl with a backpack just crying?" At that point, I didn't care about anything else. The only thing I cared about was myself. I told myself, "You're allowed to cry and be miserable for 3 days. After those 3 days, you're allowed to miss them, but you're not allowed to cry or give up everything like this anymore." Because at that time, I genuinely wasn't doing anything. I was just dedicating all my time to being sad. One night, I had chest pain and couldn't sleep. I found it strange how heartbreak could cause such pain, feeling like a part of my chest was missing, my chest tightening, and difficulty breathing. I found a scientific study that explained this phenomenon. When we experience heartbreak, the brain automatically replays moments when the relationship was beautiful. At that time, the brain releases hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones make us feel stressed, stiffen our necks, constrict our chests, and make it hard to breathe. That's why we have the saying, "Heartbreak causes chest pain." There's scientific research to explain why heartbreak is so painful. When love is good and flowing, our interactions and hugs produce hormones like dopamine, which bring joy and satisfaction. But when a breakup happens, the supply of these happy hormones naturally disappears, leaving behind stress hormones like cortisol. The brain receives signals from these hormones to pump more blood to the muscles, causing them to tense up. When muscles are tense or swollen, it can lead to headaches, stiff necks, chest tightness, and that feeling of emptiness, pain, and difficulty breathing. After reading these scientific studies, I thought, so everyone goes through this. Everyone who experiences heartbreak feels this pain. It's just a common bodily reaction. The study also said that everyone who experiences heartbreak has to go through those feelings. It's not unique to anyone. Even people who have gone through heartbreak before still experience these symptoms. Their endurance is just greater. After we broke up for a while, I tried not to think about him anymore, but for some reason at night I still dreamed of him. I wondered, why? Why do I try to keep busy during the day to avoid thinking about him, but I still dream about him at night? So I continued to research this issue and read another study. It explained that the human brain has many parts, including the conscious and unconscious. Consciously, we understand that the relationship has truly ended and we should let go. But somewhere in our unconscious mind, which is hard to control, it still hopes for reconnection. It still remembers the ex, and so it sends signals to the gray matter of the brain, causing us to dream about that person at night, like a way to prevent us from forgetting them. And it's true, the unconscious is scary, everyone. After the breakup, I still kept some habits related to him. For example, when I scrolled through TikTok and saw something funny or something that reminded me of him, I would unconsciously save it as if I thought, there will be a time when I can send this to him. Even though I knew it was truly over, I still had these unconscious actions, and I realized, this is not good at all. I also used to look back at photos and memories of us too often. That just made me sad and miss him. I was scared, so I decided to delete the photos so I wouldn't see him anymore. But even when I didn't have any photos of him, his image was still very clear in my mind, and I couldn't erase him from my thoughts. And something funny is, when I deleted those photos, I actually felt a pang of regret. I deleted the photos from my phone, but I still created another link to upload them there. I thought, later, when I'm old, if I want to reminisce about my past experiences, who I loved, I'll go there to see. When we were still together, I told my ex-boyfriend that if we ever broke up, I would definitely block him. Because after a breakup, being friends might seem nice, but then two other people would have to worry and be sad. I didn't want my ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend to feel insecure, because I felt no girl in the world deserves that feeling of insecurity. Imagine, if your boyfriend and his ex were still in contact, would you be comfortable with that? Right, it would be uncomfortable. So I didn't want any girl to feel that sense of insecurity. That's what we talked about when we were together. After we broke up, I realized a problem. Even if you don't block them, you should at least unfollow or unfriend them. I don't know how everyone else feels, but right after we broke up, just seeing his account online, seeing his profile picture lit up green, was enough to make me miss him like crazy. And I kept waiting for him to text me because it was a habit we used to text each other at night. So at night, just seeing his account online would make me hope he would text me. And then I thought, if I didn't unfollow or block him, what if, while I was still in pain, I saw another girl getting close to him, posting a story with him, or simply commenting on his posts? I would go insane with pain. So I realized that blocking my ex was a pretty wise decision. And after the breakup, I even had to turn off my social media for a while. At that time, I couldn't control my emotions, and I didn't know how to manage them. I was so afraid that in those moments when I couldn't control myself, I would say something bad on social media or something I would regret later when things got back to normal. Just to add a little, blocking and deleting an ex's contact is quite necessary after a breakup. First, our emotions aren't stable. Second, we might go out drinking with friends, and it would be very embarrassing and regrettable if we contacted our ex to beg them to get back together or say crazy things, you know? So we should block, unfollow, or delete their contact to avoid awkward situations for both sides. For a while after that, I still missed him terribly. And then I thought it was time to let go, but I still dreamed of him regularly, still missed him. So I asked my best friend, "Sis, how do I stop missing someone? How do I stop being in pain like this?" And she told me, "How can you control emotions? If you could control your emotions, you probably wouldn't be human. You'd be a robot if you could program your emotions." When we go through heartbreak, after the initial period of intense pain and struggle, perhaps the next stage is blaming the other person. In psychology, this is called scapegoating, when an individual or group tries to blame others to feel innocent. Perhaps after a breakup, we try to blame our ex to feel like we're not at fault. But if we keep doing that, we'll never grow. We've already gone through the pain of heartbreak, so we should at least learn a lesson from this relationship, right? Otherwise, our suffering will be meaningless. If we don't acknowledge our mistakes, we'll never correct them. So, I think if you're in that situation, blaming others, don't do it anymore. Be honest with your feelings. That incredibly heartbreaking feeling when, after a breakup, I realized how well he had treated me, it was agonizing. And I thought, whether you initiated the breakup or not, it's still sad. The person who actively ends it isn't necessarily not sad. They are sad, they just know it's time to end it. After I realized what a good person he was, I was grateful for how well he had treated me, but not in a way that made me regret or want to cling to him or anything. And when I went through heartbreak, After the stages of pain, blame, and denial, I eventually reached the stage where I knew, yes, this relationship has truly ended, and now I have to navigate my life on my own. I have to pull myself out of this rut. It's time to heal myself. So I went through a phase where I did everything I could to make myself better. I found that writing things down was the best. I wrote down everything I learned from the past relationship. One thing I realized I did quite poorly in my previous relationship was not defining what I wanted before entering it. Because of that, there were times when I lost myself, and because I lost myself, things just went downhill and we had to end it. So after my heartbreak, I sat down and wrote out all the things I wanted in a relationship. Then I wrote about what I did well and what I didn't do well in the previous relationship, and I also wrote about my ex. There's a saying, nothing haunts us like the things we don't say. There were so many things I wanted to say, so many things unsaid, and so many things I couldn't say during our last time together. When you're in the deepest pain, that's when you discover how strong you truly are. I found that to be true. And as you can see, now everything in my life isn't perfectly smooth, but it's much smoother than it was before. Heartbreak isn't always bad. Looking at the positive side, when we're heartbroken and lonely, we have more time for ourselves and can develop ourselves better. And I've noticed that quite often, people who recover strongly from a breakup tend to be more successful and make big leaps in their careers afterwards. Then they find suitable partners and become happy again. Back when I was going through my heartbreak, I saw a TikTok that I saved, and it had this quote: "When someone isn't meant for you, the universe will mess everything up to hurt and disappoint you, and that's when you'll realize you have to let go." I always believe that everything happens for a reason. I also read a quote that said, "Not everyone is your future. Some people just pass through your life to bring you some life lessons, and then they have to leave." Do you know the bus story? Our lives are like a bus. At each stop, passengers get on and off. And by the last stop, if we're lucky, we'll only have a few people left. And sometimes there are no passengers left, just the driver. When I heard that, I felt my heart lighten, my mind felt so much clearer. I felt more at peace with the idea that people will come and go in my life. People often say that in the end, what kills us is memories. But I don't think that's entirely true. I think memories and love don't hurt anyone. I think what truly hurts us are the small, everyday things that the person who left used to do for us, and when we break up, we no longer have those things. That's what causes us pain. And the fact that we end a relationship or feel broken after a breakup isn't because we're bad or unworthy of love or anything. It's just that happiness is stuck in traffic, running a little late. We have to love because our hearts still need to, so have faith in love. If you don't love, then don't. But if you do love, love intensely. And after all this, I still want to thank my ex-boyfriend. Meeting him was one of the most beautiful periods of my life, and he loved me in the best way he could, and I did the same. He truly made me love him effortlessly. The love came so naturally, and I genuinely felt incredibly happy. I am very grateful and cherish that time. For today's podcast, I don't know if my message is clear, but I just want to tell everyone that I've been heartbroken, I've suffered, but I've gotten through it, and now my life is starting to stabilize. So I hope you all feel the same. I hope that if you're in the midst of heartbreak, you believe that you will get through it. When I was going through my heartbreak, I never thought I could overcome it. I couldn't even imagine being normal again. At that time, I only felt pain. But now I'm okay. I just want to share this positive energy with all of you. I wish everyone will ultimately find the love they desire. Thank you all for listening to this podcast. Goodbye and see you next time.